But first, let's get some amazing video from an area along the Syria-Turkey border. This is really, unbelievable pictures that we have been seeing today. The battle here between Syrian Kurdish forces and ISIS fighters. Here is part of what our crew saw.
ISIS has been making progress. A few more miles each day. Now, just take a look up on that ridgeline now. What you're seeing is tracer fire moving into that ridgeline that is currently occupied by ISIS forces. And around me, the Kurdish crowd is cheering. Take a listen.
That was our Phil Black narrating the firefight as it happened just a short time ago, and he joins me live now. Phil, these pictures that we are watching right now, they were taken at dusk, really there along the Syria-Turkey border. Night has fallen. Has the fighting stopped?
It appears to have largely stopped, Brianna. Yes, we're still hearing the occasional burst of small arms fire, the odd blast, some tracer fire through the night sky. But for the most part, yes, it does appear to have stopped. One of the last things that we saw as dusk was falling, it appeared to be that group of ISIS fighters dropping away from that ridgeline that they were trying to hold there. So it would appear for the moment that, yes, the fighting, as intense as it was earlier in the day, has ebbed away. And it was pretty intense earlier. What we saw was a continual exchange of small arms fire and heavier indirect fire, mortar rounds we believe, between those ISIS fighters at the top of a ridgeline and some Kurdish Syrian fighters on an opposing ridgeline. Now, ISIS has been trying to move through this territory for about a week or so and has been making progress doing so. Those local Kurdish fighters have been slowing them down, but not able to stop them. ISIS at this point has been making progress, and that is what has triggered a very large humanitarian catastrophe along this border with Turkey. We have seen this week some 200,000, it is estimated, Syrian refugees flee their homes as ISIS advances, crossing in to Turkey, and that has been continuing. There was an initial influx of some 140,000 or so, then thousands more every day, and it is continuing because that ISIS advance is continuing. And we've been talking to people, those refugees, as they cross the border, and they've been telling terrible, tragic stories about their loss and about what they have witnessed, about what they have seen ISIS do to their villages, their homes and their families. People have talked about loved ones being killed in crossfire, being executed and being wiped out by artillery fire as well. So what we are witnessing in this region, and what we saw with our own eyes in a very extraordinary way this afternoon, was ISIS advancing through this northern Syrian territory, which up until now it has not controlled, but it is clearly trying very hard to do so. Brianna.
How concerned, Phil, is Turkey that ISIS fighters are so close there along the border, and is the Turkish military doing anything to get involved here?
The Turkish military is not getting directly involved in this fight yet. No doubt Turkey is concerned. Turkey has been concerned about ISIS for some time, as it has been very concerned about the ongoing Syrian civil conflict, which has been tearing this country apart. And it is because of that conflict that Turkey now has some 1.5 million Syrian refugees on its territory. It is an incredible burden, and that is Turkey's #1 concern in dealing with the ongoing Syrian crisis. It is concerned about ISIS. It has not yet joined, and may not join, we don't know, this international coalition that is taking the fight directly to ISIS itself. But the Turkish government tells us that it is concerned about ISIS, but its primary concern is the ongoing humanitarian catastrophe, and it believes that it has been left to shoulder that burden largely to itself, and that very wealthy Western countries are not doing enough to assist. That is the view of the Turkish government, Brianna.
All right, Phil Black, very important point of view to share with us there. Thank you so much for your report. And I want to bring in now CNN military analyst Lieutenant Colonel Rick Francona. This is some pretty amazing video of this firefight that we're seeing here. What's your initial reaction to what we're seeing, and if we're learning anything new?
Well, it follows what we've been watching for the past couple of weeks. We know that the ISIS has wanted to take that whole Turkish border area, and they've been pushing the Kurds closer to the Turkish border. And as what we're seeing, this humanitarian crisis, it's erupting in Turkey, and it appears that ISIS is allowing the Kurds to take refuge in Turkey. They're not trying to stop them. And I was talking to Phil earlier about this, and it seems that they're more interested in seizing the terrain and holding that terrain than they are with the Kurds that are actually living there. So if the Kurds want to leave, they're going to let them. As far as the fighting goes, this is really dramatic footage, but you can see where that ISIS actually is better gunned and they have more people. So eventually the ISIS is going to push them back, and as they said, 100 meters a day, a mile a day. And so we're watching the Kurds being pushed into this right up against the border. So this would be a great opportunity for air power to get involved, but we've got no one on the ground to do the forward air control, which is a key part of this.
So, and that's what I was going to ask you. So this is an area where, for instance, U.S. or other Arab nations who are allied with the U.S. at this point, it's sort of ripe, really, for them to intervene with air power, but what, they're sort of flying blind in a way.
Well, they won't, because the chance of hitting friendly forces or causing civilian casualties would far outweigh the benefit. Everybody wants to bring air power in, but remember how far away the bases are from which we're operating. It would take a long time to get there, and without anybody on the ground to control this, it just wouldn't happen.
And you can see how closely, certainly, the crowd there of largely, we believe, Syrian Kurds just watching and cheering as ISIS fighters took on some fire there.